Let's get it. This is Life's Essential Ingredients with Jeff and a Mike, where we hope to inform, inspire, and transform lives, one essential ingredient at a time. Welcome to the show. Listeners, we back. We are season 3, episode 36. Still can't believe it, Pasho, that we're in season 3. And if you're a brand new listener, thanks for tuning in. We're gaining a little bit of traction, Pasho. For us, this is probably a big number, but I get little feeds from Buzzsprout, which is the platform that we use. So thank you for that. But we had 507 people kind of listen in last week. And listeners, we've had listeners from 44 countries, like 650 something cities. So we just want to say thanks. You know, we started this show as Micah and I as a way to just kind of have time together and kind of share what's going on in our life and what's essential. And we've always wanted to help just one person, and that one person has always been him or me. And now to know that we're helping people all over the world, it's exciting. And our guest today comes all the way from Israel in Tel Aviv. So let me take one more step back. This show is part of a nonprofit, and the nonprofit is actually called C4 Leaders. And we're the only nonprofit to utilize the pizza making process to create space for our companions to be seen, heard, and loved. But we also write children's books, obviously host a show, and then use the most amazing handmade, hand-tossed sourdough pizza. That's right, baby, to bring out the best in each other. So if you're interested in checking out what we do in that space, go to pizzadays.org, pizzadays.org. So let's get into this show. Again, season 3, episode 36, we have Limor Bergman Gross coming from Tel Aviv. And first of all, the best place to find her is through her website, limorbergman.com. And it's LIMORBERGMAN.com. So about our guest, with over 20 years of experience as a software engineer, engineering manager, and director of engineering, Limor is well-versed in challenges of being a woman in a male-dominated field. After spending 9 years in the U.S., Limor returned to her homeland of Israel with the goal of reigniting her passion to empower women in the tech industry. Limor wanted to share her voice and created a YouTube channel to discuss the unique challenges women face in tech leadership. Limor wanted to share her wisdom and offers one-on-one coaching, providing practical tips to guide women in advancement of their careers. Limor is in her second season as podcast host of From a Woman to a Leader, interviewing powerful women from all over the world, sharing their knowledge and wisdom. Limor, thanks for sharing your many gifts with the world and for specifically focusing on empowering women. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being here today.
Yeah, it's exciting for us. And Limor, you're a first-time guest, so we always start with a thought of the day. And the pressure is on me. We've had over, 130, 140 episodes, and every one of these quotes has resonated with the guest. So you can tell me, Jeff, you're way off on this one. And then I got to start the streak over again. But it's a quote from Howard Thurman. And Howard Thurman was one of the civil rights leaders. And so hopefully this one's going to speak to you. I'm going to read it to you and say, hey, why did I pick that one for you? So here it goes. There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that someone else pulls. Why would I pick that for you?
You don't know, but I loved it.
All right, we'll interpret it. Why do you think I would pick that one?
Do you want me to say why I think?
Yeah, I want you to say.
I think that you picked that one because part of what I do and what I talk about is finding your voice, your authentic voice, your strength, your value, your hidden gem to the world and not try to be anyone else. And I'm trying to help other women to see how incredible they are and strive to do more in this world like I do, make an impact, and be proud to be themselves, how they are, and different.
I love it. So would you say that quote definitely resonated with you?
Absolutely. It does.
Pasho, the streak continues. We love it.
Undefeated, Pasho, undefeated.
Yeah, we'll take it. Yeah. And yeah, definitely, I don't mean to sound crazy, but this show is just about life. And so we're totally transparent and hopefully we get it right. Sometimes I'm sure we get it wrong, but in researching you, I just want you to get this validation, not that you need it from me or Mike or anybody else, but in researching you, that's what I saw. I found someone that found their voice, found their compass and the direction that they want to go, and then is sharing that with the world and using that as their guide to help empower women all over the world. And so, yeah, thank you so much for finding that. And that would be my first question for you is how did you do that?
Huh. It took me years, to be honest. I think I started like in this quote, someone else pulled my strings. So I didn't really know what I'm destined to do in this world. And I chose a path that I thought would fit me and my skills. I was a good student. I was good at STEM, at math, at physics, chemistry as a child. And I was drawn to computers just because I thought it's a good profession to make a living off. And that's what I did. It wasn't driven by a passion or by, really identifying who I am and what kind of unique values I bring to this planet. It wasn't a bad choice, but I don't know if it was the perfect one for me. And I think that just throughout my career, I realized how much I love working with others and making an impact. And I wanted to make a greater impact. And during, I would say, the last 10 years or so, I realized that I really have a gift to be empathetic, non-judgmental, listen to others and help them realize what is the right thing for them and help them figure out how they can become a better self and respect their own choices. And that's what I do today.
So you're living the dream. That's beautiful. I love the story. And I'm sure there was some hesitation, maybe or maybe not, when you were, leaving kind of your career. And I know you spent 9 years in the US and leaving that and realizing, hey, I'm not getting the fulfillment, so to say, and not sharing my gifts, and then going back to Israel. Yeah. How was that transition?
Yeah. Hesitation is a very gentle word to what I was feeling. I was terrified. Because I grew up in a middle-class family, and the values I grew up on is that being an employee, that's the way, that's the right way. And I was living good, I still do, but I lived comfortably and I was earning a lot of money as an employee, and I knew how to be an employee. Didn't know what it means to be a business owner. And what happened was that we decided to move back to Israel, and that kind of inflicted that I had to make a change in my career. So I figured that would be the perfect opportunity to just do that. Otherwise, it's so difficult to do it when you still work for a company because it's so scary. So I figured if I have to leave my job, that's the perfect opportunity to try a new path.
Yeah, and just goes. It's crazy. These thoughts of the days, they always just tie in. So you said, "Hey, I'm cutting these strings, and I'm coming back, and I'm going to find my way that I know is sitting inside me." And I don't know if you had. I know you have 4 children. I don't know if you had your children at that point in your life, or when exactly this was, but it had to be. Yeah, were your kids born in the U.S. or?
My kids were born in Israel. We moved to the U.S. In December 2010 when my oldest was 6.5 years old. Nowadays she's 19 and a half, and my son was 3.5 years old, and my twins were babies. And we returned, and they were all teenagers.
Well, how was that for them coming? Were they excited to come back home, or were they probably mixed emotions a little bit?
I think they were excited from the idea of coming back and obviously being close to their family, to their grandparents. But other than that, I mean, it's not easy, especially when you're a teenager. It's not easy.
Now let's get into kind of what you do. And I did do a great job on this, but I know one of your expertises, I think, is on LinkedIn and helping people find their voice that way. And I probably need your help, something fierce on that, because I'm terrible with that stuff. But what is it that you do, and how can you help the listeners if someone's like, yeah, I would like to have a better profile? What tips would you give to that person?
Yeah, sure. So what happened to me when I moved to the US? So it started, I have a LinkedIn profile since 2004, but I was not really active on LinkedIn before I moved to the US. And when I moved to the US, because I had to make a career change. Basically, I mean, I was in the same career, but I had to leave my job and find a new job in a foreign country without knowing anyone. I realized that I have to invest on LinkedIn, and I researched a lot and I learned a lot. And throughout the years in the US, I invested constantly in my LinkedIn profile, which resulted in many opportunities knocking at my doorstep. And eventually, several jobs that I took were due to those opportunities. So what I help other people do is to really brand themselves, how to present themselves on LinkedIn. People don't invest much thought on that. They just put, okay, this is my current title, this is my current job description, instead of thinking strategically about what do they want to do next and what kind of skills they have that they can highlight, what kind of achievements they have made that are relevant, because we tend to think that we are limited with the current title that we have and the current roles and responsibilities that we have. But it's actually not the case. We have to think about it differently. What kind of values do we have to bring to a future employer? What are the transferable skills that we have that will be applicable to other positions, and brand ourselves that way?
I love it. Let's take that step in helping people identify their values, because I think that's a back to the quote. That's the true guide. Is what do you stand for? What do you want to be known for? How do you help your clients? And we'll get into your coaching in a little bit, but how do you help your clients and people that you serve identify their values?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there are different tricks to do that. By the way, a lot of times I identify someone's values by just the initial conversation, hearing about them, hearing about challenges. One of the best ways to find your values is actually thinking about conflicts or people that rub you the wrong way. So we do have a lot of times in the workplace, people that we don't really enjoy working with. We sometimes even have very strong emotions against them. When you have those people, think about why. Why is it that this person, initiates such strong reaction? And typically, this is because conflict in values. And this is a perfect opportunity for you to think about that and find out more about yourself. And just by someone telling me about challenges they have in the workplace, I can tell right away what are the things that are important to them. So this is just one trick you can use.
I love it. And I don't think I've ever heard kind of the opposite spin. And it makes so much sense, of what you're describing as a way to identify, all right, well, what is that inside me that's just not resonating with? And then, okay, that's because I value something differently. And then that would be the next question then that comes up logically for me is, how do you help your clients kind of deal, say you have, I guess we can use conflict, but more just a difference in values. How do you help them navigate that space of knowing that I'm going into this workspace and the person that I have to spend a lot of time with, we're just so different and my emotions are getting in the way of me being able to go out and perform and enjoy the work that I'm there to do. How do you help someone navigate that? I imagine that's a big part of your coaching.
Absolutely. And I work a lot with the leaders, so managers and above, and first line managers, second line managers, executives. And, one of the common themes that I see is that they try to lead by their own values and they expect everyone to align with that. And great leadership is actually the opposite, is being able to adjust your leadership style and the way you communicate and work with people based on their values and what is important to them. So usually what we do is first, obviously, identifying what is important to them, what they appreciate, what they live by, and trying to figure out the challenges they face. Maybe people they report that report to them, maybe people they report to, maybe their manager, maybe peers, that there's something there that is not working very well, and identifying what are the gaps. And they say, well, this person is not, doing what they're supposed to do. And then I say, okay, what they're supposed to do. And we figure out kind of, what is really important to that person and how else can you work with them. Identify what are the motivations and drivers for each individual and how you can tap to their motivations rather than trying to tap into yours. So it's a combination of values and also motivations. Once you know what are the motivations of the other person and how can you tap into those, you have a lot of power in your hands and you can influence a lot of people.
I'm taking so many notes. I love what you're saying. Yeah, and I'm not on my phone here while my head's down.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the common themes that I see, and this is a human, natural thing to do, we tend to think about ourselves. We tend to think about, what do I want? What is important to me? Instead of thinking about the other person.
Yeah, and it's resonating everything that you're sharing. First thing, and I write notes, listeners, and I wrote adjust style and I circled that. And then I wrote other person, circled that, and then powerful. And I think it's interesting for being in the leadership space, and I love what you're saying, because so many times the leaders feel like they have to have the answers, but you're really flipping the script and saying, hey, we'll adjust to the people that you're serving and realize that your job is to serve them, adjust to that, and then play to their strength. And then that's how you get to ignite the power in all people, and makes your job probably as the leader a lot easier. Because then people, and I do feel that most people have everything that they need inside them already, and have their gift. It's just, can we create the space for that to be able to come out? And that's what I'm hearing from you. And that leads me to a little bit of a different question, but the show is called Life's Essential Ingredients. and you're coaching and empowering women all over the world. You're a mother of 4. Listeners, I love this. Most of you just tune in. We do have a YouTube that this is on, but most people just listen in. But Limor's husband was kind of sneaking in behind us, in and out of the room, and I'm loving it. So you're living your life, and there's stuff going on and people sneaking in and out of the room, and she just stays game face and focused, even though she's blushing right now, but she looks beautiful and is doing great. How do you do it? And specifically, I'll ask, what are your life's essential ingredients? What are the things that you need in your life on the daily that put you in a position to manage all that you have going on, including your husband that's sneaking in and out of the room and doing his thing?
Yeah. I think that the first ingredient is self-care. One of the benefits of starting my own business is that I have full control over my day. And I decide when I work. And I'm investing usually up until 11 a.m., the time to me. Obviously, after sending the kids to school and making sure that they have food with them, I'm just going to the gym. I'm just doing a me time, investing in me and my health. So first of all, myself, I think flexibility is a great thing that I have in life, and is very, very important ingredient for me to be flexible. And flexibility means not just the time, but who I work, what I do. I'm also enjoy challenges and trying new things and reinventing myself and trying things I haven't done before. Like I started my podcast and I start doing workshops, and maybe I'll do a workshop on a topic that I've never done before. That excites me, that drives me. And obviously my family, I need them, they need me. I mean, I'm blessed that I'm able to work from home and spend time with them. Even if, sometimes I'm on a podcast and I'm working and, you can see someone is kind of going behind me, still I'm here and I have the flexibility to spend the time with them.
Love it. I love it. And so obviously you're talking about flexibility and you like trying new things. And so if that's resonating with one of the listeners, kind of what's that process? If you're going to teach something new, what are, not to get too deep, but if that's hitting home with somebody that's listening, like, man, yeah, I would love that, but I'm just comfortable, staying. And I love the word flexible, because to me, that's saying, hey, I want to step up and rise to the next challenge and continue to learn how to be flexible. And that comes with some discomfort. Yeah. And so in order to work through that, you have to have a process. And I'd be crazy to not ask you, hey, what's part of your process for taking a new subject matter? Is there like a blueprint that you have that has worked throughout all your years of doing this that the listener can take in and say, okay, hey, here's, 2 or 3 steps that I can take to kind of get me going on being flexible and learning something new?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, comfort is the enemy of growth. When you're comfortable, it's not a bad thing, but you don't want to stay comfortable for too long. If you feel like nothing really scares you, nothing really gets you out of your comfort zone, it means you're stagnated, you're not growing. So that's, first of all, just identifying. Now, if you want to grow, you need to take on something that you've never done before. Or maybe you have done, but not in the same kind of level. Something that you may not know how to do. One of the challenges is that people are afraid to take on themselves something that they don't have all the answers to. And I say the opposite. Say yes to something you don't know how to do, or you don't know everything. How do you do? How do you know what to do? You learn by doing. That's my system. I may ask people, I may Google, I use ChatGPT quite a lot. and you just learn by doing. You do it, you get feedback, you improve. So, sometimes when I start something new, I prefer to move forward and, not being perfect and constantly improve myself rather than stagnate and wait for the time that I know everything and everything is perfect. So that's my motto. So just keep on moving all the time. Try something that you haven't done before. Learn either again from reading. Sometimes it's books. I did a program recently on negotiation, persuasion, and communication. Now, I'm not an expert in negotiation. I do know a thing of two, but I'm not I'm not an expert. So I read some books. Books are a great source of wisdom. I read some books. I Googled. I watched some YouTubes. The information is at our fingertips. Everything is out there. Everything that we need to know.
I love it. I love it. Step up to the plate, listeners. Get uncomfortable and learn by doing. I mean, that's the main one that I took away from that. I want to change it up a little bit. And I don't know if you have any expertise. I'm guessing you have some wisdom for sure. But you mentioned Chat GPT. I'm kind of not too knowledgeable about AI and everything that's going on. And I know that it's been in development, but it's still just kind of everybody's trying to figure out. Do you have much knowledge that you could share with people on maybe ways to incorporate it, and then ways to maybe be aware of AI and what's going on in that space?
Absolutely. So the terms is called generative AI. And basically it's a machine that learns, has a lot of knowledge, and based on the knowledge it accumulates, it can learn and provide, outputs. The outputs can vary. It can be articles, images, in multiple dimensions. And there are multiple tools. ChatGPT is just the most known, but there are so many tools. Every day there is a new tool for, that is based on generative AI. I use it mainly for my business. So think about, let's say you want to write an article. It's great to use AI to give you some ideas, to, think about it as your personal team of copywriters, marketers. You can ask anything. I'm not saying that you need to ask and then copy, do my homework and then copy it, but you have access to so much wisdom. I use it like I would talk to a person. The secret sauce is to really feed it with a lot of information. And I use it a lot also for my podcast. So let's say I'm interviewing a guest. What I would do, I would feed ChatGPT with a lot of information about this guest. Here is their LinkedIn profile. Here is some articles that they wrote. Whatever I have, I will feed information. Here's a summary of the call we had. And then I ask ChatGPT, can you propose topics that will be relevant for my podcast? I share also with ChatGPT information about my podcast, some of my listeners, but also, be based on this person experience and what topics they like to talk about. And then ChatGPT will come up with some ideas. And then I ask them, okay, I like that idea, or I give them feedback, and I said, can you suggest some titles? Can you suggest description for the episode? Can you suggest questions? So think about it as someone you can just consult with.
Yeah, that is some good tips for me, because Mike and I are doing all that stuff. And I like that what you just shared at the end, someone who you can consult with. And yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out here, and I'll just finish this, and then maybe it's again a naive statement, but do you see looking into your, magic 8 ball, and the crystal ball, do you see AI coming in? And obviously it's going to take some jobs away from people, but on the flip side, it's going to create, a lot of jobs for people. And I don't know how old how old are your twins? Not to get too personal with you.
They are 13 and a half.
Okay. Well, that's a good age, because the next 5 years is going to be incredible. What skills, and you're a great person to ask this question, being a parent, having good knowledge about computers and software and being an engineer. If there's a parent listening in, knowing that AI is coming and it's going to change how we do so many things, what skills, what lessons, what insights, what knowledge, what wisdom do we need to start preparing our youth with now to be able to navigate in that world? And I don't know, are you following kind of what it's a little bit of an odd question, but go with that if you can process what I'm trying to say in not such a clear way.
We already see that. First of all, prompts. You know what is a prompt? Prompt is what you input into the tools. So ChatGPT, when you write something to the tool, it's called a prompt. So writing prompts is already a skill that is in high demand. Knowing basically you have a great machine, let's say you have a wonderful system like ChatGPT, you need to know how to use it. Because if you just write a very simple sentence, give me an idea for a podcast episode, it will not give me any relevant or good results. But if I know how to write good prompts, that's going to give me really good information. So knowing how to use the tools, writing great prompts is already in need these days. And those who are going into technical areas like to software, anything related to utilizing machine learning and AI and using those tools, programming using APIs, they are going to have a lot of demand because AI is now used to write code. So tasks that maybe someone had to write code for, they're not needed anymore. You will just use AI to write the code. It doesn't mean that it will replace developers. It will just require, developers that have specific skills. And a lot of tasks that maybe are more generic can be done with a fraction of the time and the cost. So it's going to just make us more efficient. Think about, you can compare that to the industrial area, right? I mean, people used to harvest the fields manually, right? They used to do a lot of manual labor. And then when there was the Industrial Revolution and there were machinery, so they started, using those machines. Well, farmers were still needed, but they just did it more efficiently. They utilized those machines. So I look at generative AI and machine learning the same way. Yes, maybe some jobs will not be as needed, but eventually we'll need people to do maybe a little bit different type of work. Like graphic design, for example. Yes, we'll need designers, but maybe some of them will use generative AI to generate some graphics and will do the work differently. Because, for my podcast, I just used, Midjourney and I created an image for my podcast. And I'm not a very sophisticated user of Midjourney. I'm really not considering myself very knowledgeable there, but it wasn't that difficult. Instead of hiring a graphic designer.
I want to go back. I love everything that you're sharing, but how would you, let's use your kids again as an example of helping them learn how to think kind of critically and problem solving and coming up with the right words for the prompt. What are some things if parents wanted to help their kids get this skill, not even for this, but just to learn how to ask the right questions? You know,
Yeah.
how would you guide people in helping children, learn how to do that?
So first, the parents need to learn themselves. I think if you know nothing about it, I mean, you cannot really help your kids. And a lot of times, to be honest, the kids knows more than we do about different things because they learn so quickly. You know, they a lot of times know more than we do. But for example, like ChatGPT, I sat with my oldest. She's 19 and a half, but I sat with her like maybe about a year ago. She's in college. She studied arts, and I don't remember for what it was, but she needed to do some research. And I said, you know what? You can save so much time if you do it with ChatGPT. And I just sat with her and we just did it together. I showed her how to use the tool. And once she knew it, I mean, she were off and using it based on what she wanted. I use, for example, tools like Grammarly. Obviously, English is my second language, and I use Grammarly. I don't know if you've heard about this tool, but it helps you with grammar mistakes and just help you even rephrase sentences. And I use it for several years, and it's incredible. But actually, also native English speakers use that tool because it can help you rephrase, like it can suggest a better way to say something. And my daughter is using that too. And her English, she's a native speaker and her English is incredible, but she used that tool as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just introducing, I think just opening their minds and showing them what's out there.
Right. All right, let's go a couple more questions, and then I think it's time to wrap it up. And this has been amazing. And thanks again for sharing so much of your knowledge. And again, listeners, best place to find her, LimorBergman.com. Okay, LimorBergman.com. And again, she has her podcast. So make sure you tune into that, From a Woman to a Leader. And you can tell you're going to get a lot of great knowledge from listening into that. But any books that you would recommend, or that I'll change the question. What are the last couple books that you read that you've enjoyed and could be helpful for anybody looking to grow and learn and be flexible?
Yeah, I read a few books about negotiation, but I don't recall the name right now. I'll have to look at the exact name. I actually reread. I have like several books on my bookshelf. I reread How to Win Friends and Influence, or How to Influence People, Win Friends, whatever, maybe I butchered the name, of Dale Carnegie. I mean, it's an old book, but it's like, I see that as like a resource that I utilize all the time. And just read it again, like, oh my God, it's so insightful.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so there's definitely been I love asking this question because I'll order I got so many books and I'm reading like 3 of them at once right now. It's probably not a good thing to do, but I get so excited. But I think I have that book and I have not read it yet.
Okay, so you should. I mean, I know it's old. It was written in 1939, I think, or 36. And it's still very, maybe the examples he's giving, the stories are a little bit, outdated, but the principles are all the same because human being hasn't changed since, ever. We are the same as we used to be. We're driven by the same thing. So I'm trying to remember, what else I read. My God, it's like I feel like my mind is blocked.
You got a lot, and you've shared so much knowledge and wisdom with us, and we really appreciate that. And I think we're at a good time. We always end each episode with this quote from John Alston: "The only thing you take with you when you're gone is what you leave behind." And I want to put that in context, not to sound too morbid with you, but you're a young woman and hopefully you're going to live another 50, 60 years, and you're on your deathbed now, and you're surrounded by all the people that have been influential and essential in your life, and you're getting ready to take your last breath. What is it that you want to leave behind with them?
That I leave to them?
Yeah, that you just leave behind it with their heart and soul of the time that they have spent with you. Which to me, I'm trying to get you to think of, man, all right, hey, I have 50 more years. What is it? what action can I take now, knowing that my time is coming and that this is what I want to leave with people?
I just want to have the impact that I want to make is that more women will be at executive and C-suite roles in tech. So at my deathbed, I want to see many women that I helped them realize how great they are, and I helped them figure out how to push themselves forward and achieve more.
Love it. I love it. Pashito, get us out of here, baby.
Limor, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you for all your work you're doing, helping empower women. Definitely needed in this world, and keep doing great things. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Any closing comments from you?
I really enjoyed speaking with you. It was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing.
All right. Well, listeners, again, LimorBergman.com is her website. Her podcast, From a Woman to a Leader. She's doing her thing in Tel Aviv, Israel. And thank you so much for being our guest. Pashito, you know how we do it, baby. Boom, baby. We out.